Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. One thing that we've covered quite recently has been the major job cuts at Google. You guys have been seeing job cuts at Google all the way since 2023 and 2024. And in the last couple of months, we have seen layoffs in another Google division. Now this article comes from 2024 and speaks about how many employees Google had laid off at the time, reportedly cutting 10% of its managers, directors and VP roles. And again, like I said, that has continued into 2025. We're in a position now in the tech sector and actually in the broader economy where we're seeing a lot of workers, especially in places like middle management, feeling vulnerable with a lot of companies announcing layoffs. Google is not the only one. However, they are essentially moving towards these practices. Just the other week, we've seen the Google CEO sending out a harsh message to their employees after layoffs, implying that a lot of people should come back to the office, a lot of people will have to come back to the office and should essentially relocate. You know, the days that we've seen in the past of people working remote are coming to an end, or at least that's how it seems, right? So Google has asked some teams to move to near the office, come in up to 3 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week, depending on the team. And Amazon CEO has said a similar thing. You know, it apparently yields better outcomes. This is a broader trend in tech. The idea that people work at home is becoming less and less of something that companies want to embrace. So with that being said, it's no surprise that with companies expecting more and more from employees, a lot of businesses are facing a bit of a backlash. One company has been Amazon. Amazon's AWS data center in Quebec, Canada has been blockaded over the recent Amazon layoffs. Activists have blockaded the Amazon Web Services data center in Quebec, Canada this week in a protest at the company's decision to lay off more than 4,000 staff in the province. Look, we see companies like Amazon who have literally millions, if not actually billions, worth of cash, and a lot of people think that they're being greedy by cutting back on these employees. Now, there could be an argument to be made for the fact that they have to remain competitive, and if the market changes and Amazon doesn't, Amazon faces a risk of essentially losing their advantage. But Google is facing a similar sort of backlash, as we are seeing Google workers being really anxious, fearing layoffs, and are launching a pressure campaign on their CEO, with more than 1,300 employees signing an Alphabet Workers Union petition with multiple demands, right? This is the way it's going. So, at the drumbeat of the layoffs at major tech companies slows, it doesn't cease, right? The mass layoffs at Google have created a new workers campaign pushing for job security, as we are seeing so many layoffs, right? So by noon on Tuesday, more than 1,300 Google employees had signed a Googlers for Job Security petition. And I don't necessarily blame them. So it addresses the billionaire CEO by his first name and begins bemoaning the impacts of layoffs on worker morale. It then calls on Google to offer voluntary buyouts before laying people off and guarantee a minimum level of severance benefits, and not lower performance review ratings as a pretext for cutting staff. So let's just take a minute to think about this. It's quite interesting how many companies are laying off staff, and at this time a lot of staff are very, very stressed. You know, people see this as essentially being a bit of a precursor. Google's annual performance reviews occur in January, plus the company sheds large chunks of staff at the beginning of the last 2 years. A Google software engineer and the vice president of Alphabet Works Union told SF Gate that the petition came together after workers brought up layoff protections and job security during union-held forums. A lot of folks have been feeling really anxious and worried about what was to come, especially given the nature of how the layoffs happened in the last 2 years, where they just came out of the blue. I don't blame these employees for being kind of nervous, and it does seem to have been that way. We just see Google and actually a lot of companies create these sort of new standards, these new expectations, which essentially seem to just come out of the blue, and it's no wonder the employees are going to be stressed. In the petition, workers suggest that buyouts and layoffs should include a minimum of severance packages equal to those offered during Google's massive January 2023 layoffs. The packages started at 16 weeks of salary. The request that performance ratings not be forced into distribution arrives about 2 weeks after Meta's Mark Zuckerberg announced his plan to raise the bar on performance management and move out low performers faster. This is the way that companies are moving, and again, you can make an argument that they are going to have to keep up, they're going to have to do these sorts of things, but a lot of workers see this as being completely unfair and completely intolerable. It's giving them a lot of anxiety, it's causing them a lot of problems, and a lot of them are very unhappy with it. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, do give us a like and subscribe, and thank you. I'll see you soon.